Welcome to the dungeon with Harlan and Andrew.
Okay, we are back. We're here. We're going. We're live. We're unmuted, I promise. And the dungeon is back. I'm very excited to be back. We've been gone for a little bit, but we're kicking again. This is the dungeon where we interview game masters about running their games. Andrew, you're shaking your head at me. What did I do? Did I already mess up? What's up? Can you hear me? Are you broken?
It's Andrew.
Andrew's broken. We broke Andrew out of the gates.
Oh my
Reed,
gosh.
you can hear me,
I'm so
yeah?
sorry.
Can you hear
I
me?
can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. This is, honestly, this is a tradition on the show. I'm glad to be bringing it back, that we're just rolling along. I know it's so, Andrew, I have no idea why you can't hear me. Reed can hear me, so it's just you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties plague us all the time, so, maybe it's my fault. Maybe I brought them with me. My apologies.
No, this is just we welcome the ghosts here on this show. We welcome all gremlins, all ghosts. So, hopefully
was that a triumphant hand raise?
Yes, I can hear it for some reason. My Zoom muted itself. Now I can hear a real twist, because normally our whole stream is muted. But this time,
this is not me.
Just I was
not
muted.
Me.
So,
so this is the dungeon.
I'll take this twist.
This is the dungeon, and I'm Harlan Kelly. Oh, Andrew.
I'm Andrew Orbital.
There we go. And today, our guest on the show is Reed. Reed, thank you for being here. Yeah, you are a GM, a player, the creative director of Starlight Tales, and we're so happy to have you. Thanks for coming to hang out with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So we like to start our show off with asking everyone the exact same question. And so how did you get into tabletop role-playing games?
Yeah. So the first time I ever played Dungeons and Dragons, I was 6 years old. It was a game. Yeah, it was a game of first edition D&D that was led by my dad. He led the game for me, my older sister, and one of her friends. And we played Keep on the Borderlands, which is like one of the original classic modules. That was my first kind of introduction into tabletop role-playing games. My dad had played a lot in high school. And so as soon as he had kids that were old enough to do simple addition, wanted to bring that back in. And then I played on and off a lot through high school and through college. And then the pandemic hit, and I was looking for a way to kind of get that community back that I really needed and I was really lacking at the time. And boy, oh boy, do tabletop role-playing games give you a good sense of community. And I think that was 2 years ago, and now that was when I DM'd my first game, and now here we are.
That's so cool, man. I just every bullet point in that story is so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Andrew DMs for his kid, and I've always thought it was the coolest thing ever. That is something that they get to do as family. So it's cool that
when they were 5, right about
the same age.
But I don't know. I think I'm sorry to talk about your relationship with your child here on stream, Andrew, but I think it's so cool. And I also love that now that they're a teenager, it's not as cool anymore, right? Is that true?
No, yeah, it's a bummer, because now they definitely aren't into role-playing games like they were, which is funny, because you think they would get more into them, but now they're just kind of too cool for them. Even when they play, their characters are kind of too cool for what's going on, and incredibly murderous, clearly a lot of 13-year-old angst being channeled through these characters who are just true criminals.
You gotta get it out somewhere. It's a healthy outlet.
Exactly. No, I'm still down to run the games and everything, but
did that happen with you, Reed? Did you like get to a point where you were too cool to play games?
I don't think so. I think I've always been a nerd, and my family's also just a bunch of like theater people, and so yeah, it was never too cool to do it with my dad. It was mostly just like he would tell me about a thing, and then I would be like, yeah, I'll look at it, and then I would like discover it on my own in my own time.
Yeah.
Kind of what happened with D&D.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. And so what games are you running right now?
Yeah, so I currently run 2 games on our Starlight Tales channel. Starlight Tales, we tell science fiction and horror stories set in like a magical fantasy world that centers specifically like trans and queer narratives, as well as narratives that include like people of color and disabled people, and like stories that oftentimes in sci-fi are either not told or told in like a really harmful way. And we've really been enjoying that. I'm currently DMing 2 campaigns, one of which is a like magical mystery campaign that's all about like what home means and what home looks like when home is a place that you've never been before, and also a cosmic horror campaign, which sees some of our adventures exploring like the deepest, darkest parts of space that no one has ever dared to tread before. So yeah, that's what I'm running right now.
Yep, we run a Spelljammer campaign as our main game.
Yes,
and that's why I like doing Spelljammer, and why I've always really liked Spelljammer is not because it's just like this classic like goofy setting, but it's because it's like portals and planets D&D, where it's like, okay, if magic is true, then anything is possible. Like, what are we doing in castles? Like, let's be everywhere, and like all of these creatures are possible, which means all of these things are possible. So yeah, like that's. I loved finding your channel and just seeing the way you all talked about stuff, because that's what's really exciting to me about like space magic, is that it's like, let's go all over the world and do all these things. So that's very cool.
Yeah, we take a very like fluid approach to what magic looks like. So like, there's like spells and spell books, but sometimes my players will come to me with an idea for either like combining 2 spells or doing an effect that maybe there's like not a spell for, and we'll figure it out together. Because like you said, in a world where magic exists, why can't everything exist? It's very sci-fi and it's very fun.
That's awesome. Do you have any examples of spells that you smashed together? I'm just curious.
Yeah. We have really started playing with that in the magical mystery campaign I was talking about. We've got a player who now has the ability to detect magic and identify at the same time.
Cool.
So it's like an identify spell, but in a radius around them. And it's concentration for 10 minutes where they can kind of just like repeat cast identify. And then we're right now looking at a combination of true polymorph and like, I guess like getting it's a very complicated thing, but it's kind of like what's that thing when you like get someone out, like a demon out of somebody who's possessed? What's that word?
Exorcism.
Exorcism.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exorcism.
The very concept of exorcism, but exercising somebody and true polymorphing them at the same time, which is
what are you getting? So are you like getting their spirit out and they turn into another creature? Like, I want to know. So dig in with us. Come on, tell us.
One of like the main antagonistic forces in this campaign is Neth, which is the demiplane that lives, which is like written canon in D&D lore.
Let's go.
So getting
I don't know about this. That's fucking awesome.
It's so cool.
It's a sentient plane of existence.
It's a sentient plane that is like trapped in this bubble, and its whole thing is trying to get more knowledge from the visitors that come, but then it will like absorb the visitor as a part of it and then gain the knowledge that it absorbs. So my players are trying to exercise the demiplane from the demiplane, but also like put it in a body.
Damn, that's very cool. Yeah, that's very cool. I'm gonna look this up and steal it and put it in our campaign.
This is something that I can expect in the future.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you for that gift. I need to watch you DM this in the game, so I can figure out how to do that. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it's cool.
So yeah, that's incredible. I love that, and I just like I think that's such a testament to a good game too, where you feel comfortable letting your players break the rules, which isn't like, I'm not, whatever with the power dynamic between GM and stuff. But for me, a lot of the times when I'm so committed to balance, is just because I want it to be egalitarian for all the players at the table, right? I want there to like everybody to feel like they can contribute. But when you have a good table and you all know that like, oh, we're really just like interested in telling this kind of story and using the mechanics to tell this kind of story, then you can just do whatever you want. And it's like everyone's having fun and like giving to each other. So that sounds just like a really fun table to be at, I think.
Yeah, I'm so lucky that these are the people that I get to play with and these are the stories that we get to tell. It's really humbling thing.
Hell yeah. Cool.
That rules.
Well, just a reminder, chat, if you all have any questions, feel free to throw them out there. Always down to squeeze in some of your questions if we have time, and we'll at the very end of the session as well, we'll have you roll on our random roll table. But I want to know more about are you only running D&D right now on the stream, or have you found any other systems that you find like conducive to telling a different type of story that's focused on something else?
Yeah, so right now we are only running D&D games.
Cool.
I used to be a part of a project where every week we played a different tabletop role-playing game. To like really try and number one, like shed some light on these independent games that are posted on like itch that people don't really stream.
Yeah.
But also to show that there's like more than just D&D out there.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool project to be a part of. And then we are looking at playing in some different systems. I really want to play Paranoia. That is a system that I've always wanted to run.
Looks very cool.
And then I'm also a really big fan of Cyberpunk as a TTRPG as well.
Andrew's trying to get a game going right now.
Love to play. It's such a good system. I love a D10 based system. It's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love all things Cyberpunk for sure.
Me too.
I haven't run the proper Cyberpunk Red game, but I ran the Jumpstart version of it, and it was super fun.
Yeah, I ran the Jumpstart, and then the book came out, and then the book was like 400 pages, and I couldn't convince anyone to read it.
Same here. And there's 3 character sheets, and people are like, I'm not playing a 3 character
so
sheet.
I like made my own Jumpstart guide based off of the rule book, so I could get people to play with me.
That's so funny. Andrew did the same thing.
I made my own. I mashed it into John Harper's Lasers Plus Feelings game engine, where you only have 1 stat.
Yes.
It's like the easiest game. So I maybe over reduced it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm
excited to hear all about it.
Yeah. So yeah, because I think that's something that I've always found like as advice to me, when I'm trying to like, I want to run D&D like this, or what, like when I've gotten really attached to Spelljammer, because I'm like, it's this like other way of playing D&D. But I think that's so cool that you are telling these specific like cosmic horror stories and like these like queer stories using the mechanics of D&D, but doing whatever you want with them, because that's the thing that I've always been like an advocate for, because I think that like I really like other systems that like the mechanics allow you to tell a different story. I'm a big like 10 Candles fan. I don't know if you've ever played that, but it's just like
I love 10 Candles.
Yeah, we're big 10 Candles fan. We had the creator of it on the dungeon in the past.
I saw. It's such a good episode.
Oh, yeah. Well, so he's incredible, and like but I think it's also very cool to like game design is breaking a game, right? And that you can take it. Do you have any tips for me, for other people who are like trying to bend and break D&D, or like just like let it be more open? Because I think that at least the thing I run into often is people get attached to an idea of D&D, and then when you're like, well, you can do whatever you want, kind of thing, people get, I don't know, they feel uncomfortable with it sometimes, I've found.
And on that same token, do you still see any like blind spots in D&D that like that people could be aware of? It seems like obviously they're trying to be more inclusive and kind of trying to catch up pretty late in the game, given how many years they've been around. But can you think of any blind spots that are still out there, like in the game that people could watch out for?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you. It's been really cool to be a part of. So thank you for commenting on that. I think one of my biggest pieces of advice is to set the tone early that you're trying to achieve. And by tone, I mean like tone of how stringent you want to be with the rules. I love session 0 for this. I like in session 0 to talk about any homebrew rules that you want to set, anything that you're willing to kind of wiggle on. And that's a really good place to kind of bring people in. So the first thing that I like to establish is that sometimes when my players ask me if they can make a check about something, I ask them what kind of check they want to make.
Yeah. So
that they get to have the agency. So they pick kind of what direction they want to tackle this problem in. And I think even something so simple as saying that kind of makes people know that, oh, this is the type of table where I can also take agency over the rules, and I can also take agency over bending the rules, which is really, really nice. As far as blind spots in D&D, I really think that there needs to be some sort of like formalized system into creating spells and like fiddling with magic, because there's a lot of spells for a lot of different things, but also like as somebody who played first edition, I have like the 3.5 books like somewhere in my home. Like there's a lot of things that didn't carry over from edition to edition.
Yeah.
And
like what?
That,
like what's one
that
of them?
gap is like psionics.
Yeah.
I feel like we really kind of missed out on that. A lot of like higher level divination spells we really miss out on in 5th edition. And so I think that having a fluid magic system could really allow for a lot of creativity to kind of fill those holes.
That's cool. You know, I listened to this interview with Jeremy Crawford that has really like always influenced how I've approached it, where he was advocating, he was like, the mechanical rules are there for like balance reasons, but you should always like feel empowered as players and as DMs, having like people cast spells to make the spells look or sound or, you know, like physically show up as whatever way that you want to. You know, it's like you can, if you're a bard and you do it this way, you can, but you can also be a wizard who like, any verbal component can you be saying anything. And I was like, whoa, that's really cool. I haven't thought about that. Like, and I think I'm only like that and have access to that idea because I've, like listened to all these freaking interviews all the time. But I think what you said about formalizing it lets people who are new to the game be like, oh, your fireball literally can be whatever you want it to be. Your magic missile can shoot little tiny birds. Like, as long as it does this type of damage. And even then you could probably make an argument that it like does ice damage instead, like as long as you stick with it or whatever. So I agree. I think that's like let it show up in whatever ways.
Oh no, please.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go, Andrew. I'll go next.
I was gonna say, I've noticed that in our game because Harlan will often describe my character's magic as having this purple energy, and purple is my least favorite color in my life. And I'm always like, God, again with this purple energy.
Oh, that's funny.
It's the devil inside you. That's it. This is perfect. My flavor is crushing because it's the devil inside your character that is torturing
my
you.
lights.
I love it. I've come around on it.
That was very cool.
Yeah. Sorry.
It's never going to be purple again, Andrew. It's never going to be purple again. Sorry.
No, now I like it. I've embraced it.
It
was just one of those funny things where I was like, purple? What? It's purple? Really? Okay. All right.
So funny. So something kind of that falls into that. So I love when people come to me with an idea for a caster who doesn't follow the main stat of that class. So for example, right now in our Cosmic Horror campaign, we have a wisdom-based sorcerer who is playing a homebrew like oracle sorcerer origin that's all about like manipulating like the prophecies that you receive, which I think is really, really fun.
Very cool. Yeah.
So that's also a really fun way to kind of play with magic. I also love to say that material components are the worst.
Yeah.
And something that we're playing with, not in this campaign, but hopefully in a future campaign, is this idea that I had that if there's a monetary aspect to a component, instead of using the component, you could give something up that is equal in value. So for example, with like resurrection spells, like to bring someone back from the dead, you could give something up that is like equal to the monetary component you would have cast, and then you can still cast it. I think that that's going to be very fun to play with.
I love this.
It makes for so much more interesting story moments instead of just like I have the diamond I need. It could be like I have to get rid of this other thing that is actually I use and I cherish. Like players aren't using their diamonds; they're just sitting there in the satchel.
Yeah, and this is also very funny because Andrew is very good about using the specific material component and saying in our game that he is using it in that moment, which I think is the coolest way to use material components, because it's not like, oh, you have to have this thing. It's like, oh, there's an established way to use material components, and so I'm just going to flavor my spells with that, which Andrew's such a rule follower. I love it. But
they are fun for flavor, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, but I agree. Like, you shouldn't be like, oh, no, sorry, player, you can't do this in this moment. But that's the thing I've always felt attached to, is like you need to have you only have one diamond and 3 of your friends are dead, and you have to choose which one you're going to save because you only have this resource. So like, that drama of like management, not as like a haha I got you DM moment of just like, no, your player's having a narrative choice. And I think that's one that's can be created in that same way that you're talking about, where it's like, okay, yeah, you can save all your friends, but it gets exponentially bigger when you are trying to make a deal for 3 lives.
My players love giving me hit points to do things. That's their favorite thing. They're like, I'll give you 75% of my hit points to be able to do this. I'll give you like 2 levels of exhaustion. Like, they love sacrificing things in order to do other things. And it's like a kind of a dangerous precedent, I think. Sometimes I have to walk them back a little bit because they get very caught up in the drama of it. And they're like, I would have given it to you.
My character.
Right. Yeah. I would have given it to you for like 2 extra spell slots, but like, okay.
Yeah. Now they're all just walking around with 1 hit point, and
it's a great problem to have.
Yeah.
Right. For people to be like so into the narrative and like so ready and willing to like give things up for each other. It's really fun.
Right. Yeah. Because that's such a drama story moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like those off the books bargains for sure.
I think they're fun. I think they add a little bit of extra spice. Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, that's always been my rule about death too, is like, I think death in D&D is one of the coolest aspects because there's like a permanent consequence. But if a player doesn't want to lose their character, if they're truly like, I won't have fun, or I like what I would, the way for me to have fun, like continuing to play this game is like, I'm really invested in this one character. I like to keep playing this one character. I'm like, you can always meta cop out on death with me, but you just have to be willing to pay a permanent price, like as long as there is a permanent consequence. I'm very, lenient on it.
There was some horrible discourse on TikTok about this very topic. Somebody posted this. Yeah, somebody posted this take where it was like, if somebody says that permanent death is off the table for a character, they're not welcome at my table. And it's like,
why?
There's so much, number one, wrong with that from like a safety and consent perspective. But number 2, like, there's so much to play with somebody who dies and then has to come back, right? Like, even in the mechanics of resurrection, like, you take a -4 to everything that you do after you're back.
Yeah.
And like, the framework is in the game, like, it's already there for you to be able to play with it. And I think that's just a boring answer.
And it's a fantasy game, it's a fantasy world. It like completely, it can be used in so many fun ways. And that's just someone who wants to treat it like mean video game that they control or something.
Yeah.
A procedurally generated video game.
Yes. Yeah. You failed my video game again. Like those classic, I guess that it was the style of D&D at a time, because you hear about that style of players just dying like every session and having to re-roll new characters. That sounds so not entertaining to me.
We're lucky if we have a combat in my games every other session. Sometimes it's even longer than that. Like I
think that's great.
Yeah,
and just like get out of here. I mean, I know plenty of people who I've played games like that where it is fun to just be like, all right, we're just going through this dungeon. Like, let's just go, but it's like you said, it's like establishing what we're doing up front lets people have the buy-in that they want to. And I just also can't imagine a player coming to me and being like, here's my preference. I know, here's my experience I've had with the game before. This is the thing I want to play this game. And as a DM being like, sorry, you're not welcome at my table because you don't follow my made up rules that a company sold me. It's so silly.
Terrible. Yeah. It's terrible. And I think that that's another blind spot that D&D has that they're kind of coming in a little bit too late about is like the safety and consent aspect of it. I feel like there are a lot of resources that are out there for other games, and if D&D wants to be like this giant monopoly on like tabletop role-playing games, then that's an area where they really have to improve in.
Yeah, I know they're just like leaving it to small creators on DM's Guild to like provide these resources that are like actually helpful. Because we had one of our guests on here, Brianna Baca. She ran in a game store for a long time and was talking about how important safety rules like exponentially were at a place where it is an open table. And she was like, I was committed to like wanting people to be able to play and just like show up and play, and anybody to be able to play, because that's like low barrier community building. But in order to do that, you have to have pretty strict safety rules, because people make other people uncomfortable, even like unintentionally, and so yeah, I don't know. It's so many DMs out there doing that work without wizards putting those rules in the game. Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it would not be tough to add either. I mean, it's a paragraph or two at the start of the book or what have you.
Yeah. I'm hoping that there's a little bit more about it when we're thinking about like 5.5 and like possibly 6th edition. Like I'm hoping that in the DM's guide we can get a little bit more about like safety, because they did it with Van Richten's, they're adding a little bit here. They did it with Strixhaven, and so like I'm seeing the groundwork. Like I feel like we're getting there, which is good.
I would be surprised if it was not in there at this point.
Yeah.
In the new edition. But
I agree. They have been putting it like more stuff. I was surprised in the language at the beginning of Strixhaven, because it was like so much more this is how you can run any type of game, and this is how you take these rules, but you should in a way that they used to be like, oh, feel free to make up, whatever thing for your game. Here's the like loot table, or they're like the roll table for making a monster or whatever. They're like, here's how you run a different types of games and how to make people comfortable with those games, which was cool, I thought. So
it's a great book. They did a great job.
Yeah, I love Strixhaven.
Well, we do have a question. A question has come through. What has been one of your favorite things from the Starlight Tales fan community?
Oh, we've been really, really lucky with the community that we've been able to find. They are the people who are there like at the beginning of every stream, and then like start talking with each other during our like starting soon screen, which I think is my favorite thing. Like they all know each other by name. They've started hanging out like in our Discord and like the voice chat, which I think is really, really awesome. So I think my favorite thing is watching people come together because of a thing that we're doing. Like, as somebody who came to D&D because I was like looking for that sense of community, like the fact that people are finding community because I'm playing D&D is just like, it's mind-boggling. It's wild.
That rules.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It is. It's just fun to bring people together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially, now that a lot of life became remote and is still remote, it's cool to have a community that actually functions pretty well remote. And
so well.
You can like enjoy it in a remote way, which is super cool.
Yeah.
So we have a D20 roll table full of classic questions from the dungeon. If you don't mind rolling.
I would love to. Rolled a 5.
Here we go. Welcome back, everybody.
Oh, wow. We already addressed this one, so I'll have you roll again, but I'll tell you what it was. Do you believe in character permadeath?
Oh, look at that!
Address that one.
I take that as a good omen that we rolled like the thing that we talked about.
Do.
Yeah.
I do. I'm gonna roll again.
Cool. Advantage. Let's go.
I got a 16.
A 16. Oh, okay.
Imagine if I had rolled a 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's happened.
I don't. Yeah, we had a 1 on the new table. I don't remember. Okay, a 16. What is your favorite homebrewed loot item? And this could be something that you homebrewed or someone else did.
Ooh,
that's a good one.
That's a really, really fun question. So one of my players in our Cosmic Horror campaign has this sword that we call Star Striker. Cool. And we worked together based off of like something we found online to kind of make it theirs. Number one, you can use a bonus action to transform it from a walking cane to a sword. Because they were playing a character with like a physical disability. Then you can when you hit someone with it, you can use I think it's like a free action to mark them. And they're considered marked, and then you gain charges for every person that you hit with it, and then you can expend charges to do lightning damage to everybody that you have marked.
Oh, very cool.
That's so cool because it rewards like you attack, like not just like jumping on one person. That's cool as fuck.
Yeah,
you can build it all up.
Yeah. Or you can save all of the charges for like one combat, right? Like if you're facing a really, really like giant creature, you can save the charges, mark them, and then like you're good to go because you've already been saving these charges this whole time. So it's got a lot of utility when it comes to like big combat because you have a lot of little guys, or a big combat because you have one big guy. And my player's been enjoying it a lot.
That's very cool.
I want that sword. Yeah, that is super cool. Is there anything you'd like to plug, Reed?
Sure.
Projects, anything
Come
goes?
check out Starlight Tales. We stream every Wednesday at 2:30 Eastern time. We've got our flagship show, Tales from the Starlight Ocean, which is a space pirate campaign coming back.
Hell yeah, let's go.
In a little bit under a month, which is very exciting. I had the pleasure of being on Arc 8 of Unprepared Casters, which is a short form D&D podcast. I was there as a player, and that just finished premiering, which is super fun. So if you want to listen to that on Spotify, that'd be great. And we're also doing a live stream this Saturday to kind of wrap up the premiering of the arc. So we'll be on Twitch at 6 p.m. Eastern time, on twitch.tv/unpreparedcasters. So come hang out.
Cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, just truly a delight to get to talk space magic games. And yeah, they're doing super cool stuff over there. So yeah, go follow them on Twitch. You can check out our socials where we will also tweet the things that you need, the links that you need to click to go find Reed and all of the games that they are in. And yeah, if you are new to our stream, we have our main campaign is happening every Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific time. We run a Spelljammer game in 5e that is a speculative future version of a realm space, and we've been doing it for 2 years now. So they're level 11, and we're going to 20, baby. If I can keep this thing going, we're going to 20. So. But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. And Andrew, is there anything else we should not forget?
Gosh, well, we're back. We're going to be back every Wednesday at 5. We have a Patreon, a Better Than Heroes Patreon. If you want to check that out, you can play D&D with us. We have like a spinoff that connects with the main game, so you're kind of like participating in the canon of the campaign, which is super fun. And we're launching a new Patreon feature called Scream Talk, where Harlan and I discuss horror movies, which is our simmering passion that we both have. So, yeah, if you want to check that out, patreon.com/better than heroes. Simmering passion. Yeah.
Andrew and our simmering passion. Let's go.
I will not apologize nor walk it back. Horror movies are our simmering passion.
I love it. That was so sensual. I'm so grateful for it.
Yep, that is our love of horror movies.
Start saying that more often.
Yeah, simmering.
And my, if you've been watching The Dungeon all along, you know that I've been working on a game called Duster for like 2.5 years or so, a very, very long time. And it's finally out. You can get it on my site, occupiedhex.com. The PDF is on there. Yeah, it's finally done. It's huge. It's 271 pages of a game. So if you want to check it out, it's on my site.
Cool. All right, let's get out of here. Don't forget, tip your DMs.
All right.
That's why I was trying to set you up for that, Andrew. But okay, there we go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We talked about it before and everything. It's okay. All right, tip your DMs. All right, later, y'all. Bye.
Thanks.